Here we are. Another day the Lord has made. So I want to talk about Israel. Israel in our day. And this is going to be something you probably haven't heard of, which kind of seems to be my ministry, sharing things people have never heard of. And so I think there's a lot of misunderstandings about Israel, biblical Israel, and the nation of Israel. And so I want to try to clarify this. Israel represents God's people in the Bible. And you have Old Testament, New Testament. So, it all starts out with Abraham. Open up your Bible, go to the 12th chapter of Genesis and the 15th chapter. In the 12th chapter, it says, God's telling Abraham, he says, I'm going to bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. In the 15th chapter, Abraham's name was Abram initially, and so this is sometimes called the Abrahamic covenant. And it's the covenant God made with Abraham. And he said, through your seed, all the nations of the earth, all families of the earth would be blessed. And so we know that through Abraham's seed, the Messiah came, Jesus. And God changed Jacob's name to Israel, which is interesting. Okay? There was Ishmael, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, well, Jacob's name was changed to Israel. And I think the important thing to understand is that Israel represents God's people. Well, from the Old Testament to the New Testament, there was a change that happened. Okay, in the Old Testament, in order to become part of the seed of Abraham or the children of God or a part of Israel, you had to be physically born through your lineage, basically. Through to become Abraham's seed. You were Hebrew, and so all the offspring. Jacob had 12 sons. They became the 12 tribes of Israel. And as they physically reproduced, Israel, God's people, became larger and larger. All right, until it was the nation of Israel. So when we look to the past, we see the Old Testament, Israel, as the seed of Abraham, God's people. All right. God said, I'm going to bless those who bless you, curse those who curse you. Well, after Jesus came, everything physical in the new covenant, okay, Jesus on the night he was betrayed, he took the cup, and when he had supped, he said, this cup represents my blood, which is the new covenant, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. Now, this covenant was prophesied in Jeremiah 31, chapter 31 and the 33rd verse. God promises to make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Jacob, the house of Israel and the house of Judah. All right. He said, I'm going to put my laws in your minds and write them upon your hearts. Well, this new covenant was fulfilled through Jesus as the Messiah, dying on the cross. All right. The physical blood of the Lamb, they were celebrating Passover, turned into the spiritual blood of the Lamb. Okay? It's the spiritual blood of the Lamb that helps us become a part of modern day Israel in the new covenant. All right? So, 1 Corinthians 15:46 says, that is not first which is spiritual, but that which is natural, and afterwards that which is spiritual. So first you have the physical, and then the spiritual is what this verse is saying. And so my testimony to you is in the new covenant, Israel, the Israel of God, is a spiritual entity composed of Jews and Gentiles, all the believers in Jesus Christ, okay? And so when we look at this, this is kind of not recognized. People look at God's chosen people as people that are of Jewish descent, okay? They look at the nation of Israel, okay? And then they think, oh, well, we need to bless Israel, the nation, the physical nation, because of God's promise to Abraham. But time out. If we open our Bibles to Romans, go to the 9th chapter, go to the 6th verse, it says, they are not all Israel that are of Israel. Neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac shall the seed be called. It says that the children of the flesh are not the children of God. The children of the promise are counted as the seed. So that's interesting, because if we go to Galatians 4:28, it says, Paul is speaking to the Gentiles in Galatia, and he says, now we, brethren, as Isaac was, are children of the promise. So when Romans 9:6 says they are not all children that are of Israel, the natural born Jew is not part of modern day Israel in the new covenant, okay? Do you see that? It says, they are not all Israel that are of Israel, neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children. All right? So you don't become a children. The children of God are those that are born into God's household in the new covenant. Just as the children of the covenant and the seed of Abraham were physically born before Jesus came, in the new covenant, you have to be spiritually born in order to be a child of God. All right? That's why Jesus said you must be born again to enter into the kingdom of heaven. And all those that surrender their life to Jesus Christ and become born again are part of modern day Israel. All right, the Israel of our day. And I really don't like it. You probably have heard before, oh, we're all children of God. Well, no, that's not true. Absolutely not true. Okay, you have to be born into God's household, just like you had to be born into your household when you were born, physically born. All right, open your Bible, go to Galatians 3:7. It says, those that are of the faith are the children of God. All right, we become children of God through faith in Jesus Christ. Okay, so moving on to Romans, if we go to the 11th chapter, all right, and we go verses 11 through 24. Paul gives us an analogy, and he's saying that Israel is like an olive tree, okay, and that Gentiles were grafted into this olive tree. Well, the olive tree represents Israel. He's given a picture of Israel as an olive tree, and that Gentiles were grafted into this olive tree, and this olive tree represents New Testament Israel. But it's interesting, if we read these verses, it says that natural Israel they were broken off of the olive tree. Okay, so natural Israel rejected Jesus as the Messiah. And Romans in the 11th chapter, verses 11 through 24, is saying that Israel was broken off of that olive tree that represents modern day Israel because of unbelief. Okay, and it says that you can be broken off because of unbelief too. That's another message. But it's very important. It says that if they abide not in unbelief, it says that they can be grafted in. So anybody that exhibits faith in Jesus Christ and follows him is grafted into the olive tree that's called Israel. It's the Israel of our day. And it really should come as no surprise that physical Israel became spiritual Israel in the new covenant, because think of all the things that went from physical to spiritual. You have the physical temple became the spiritual temple. We become the temple of God when the Spirit of God comes and dwells in us, just like God dwelt in the physical temple. The sacrificial system, okay, ended when Jesus died on the cross. Now the physical sacrifice has become a spiritual sacrifice. In 1 Peter it says, we all as living stones are being built up a spiritual house to offer spiritual sacrifices. If we go to Romans 12:1, it says to offer yourself a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God. So even the sacrifice went from physical to spiritual. The physical sword that Israel fought with has become a spiritual sword. We battle not against flesh and blood. They fought against flesh and blood. All right? We battle with a spiritual sword against spiritual entities. Even the enemies of Israel went from physical to spiritual. Romans in the Ephesians in the 6th chapter, it says, our battle is with principalities and powers, rulers of darkness and spiritual wickedness in high places. So you can see this application. The physical blood of the Lamb that saved from death became the spiritual blood that saves from death. All right? Go to Romans 2:28. It says, he is not a Jew which is one outwardly, neither is circumcision outward in the flesh. But he is a Jew inwardly, and circumcision is spiritual, in the spirit, not in the letter, whose praise is of God and not of men. So you have a physical Jew and a spiritual Jew. You have a physical circumcision, which is a cutting away of the flesh, and you have a circumcision of the heart, which is spiritual. So it should come to no surprise that Israel became a spiritual entity representing God's covenant people. That's very important to understand. I mean, I listen to, guys that like Jonathan Cahn. I mean, my gosh, how can people get it so wrong? I mean, how do you miss these verses when it says, they are not all Israel that are of Israel? It says, you know what I mean? The children of the flesh are not the children of God. It comes right out and it says it, black and white. Okay, the children of the flesh is the natural born Israelite of our day that live, they're all over. But if you go to Israel, they hate Jesus. Okay, I'm saying overall. And God has not forsaken his people. He still has chosen to place his name there. God is going to bring a remnant in from natural Israel. And so that's an end-time ministry that is yet to be fulfilled. But God draws all men. Jesus says, I draw all men to myself. Okay? But there's a veil over the heart of the Jewish people. And, it's interesting. Anyways, that's not important. But anyways, I just wanted to go over that. I mean, I listened to so many people, send money to Israel, the nation, and, God has not forsaken his people, Israel, and there is going to be a remnant. It says, though Israel be the sands of the sea, yet a remnant shall be saved. And so God is going to bring in a remnant from natural Israel. When the fullness of the Gentiles come, God is going to turn, I believe, away from the Gentiles, and he's going to turn to his people, just like what happened in Jesus' day. Okay, Paul went to the Gentiles. God's people rejected Jesus as the Messiah, and then Gentiles were grafted into the olive tree. Well, God is going to bring a remnant in of his people. Okay, look at Micah 5:2 is a prophecy about Jesus. And then in 5:3 it says that wherefore he will give them up until the time when she which travaileth hath brought forth, and then a remnant of his brethren will return to the children of Israel. This is an end time prophecy of the remnant being brought in from natural Israel. And when she which travaileth hath brought forth is Romans in the 12th chapter, the woman travailing in birth. Okay, it's an end time ministry. So anyways, that's what I wanted to share today. There's a lot going on with Israel, and so I just wanted to share that. I don't know where your position is, but go read Romans 9:6 and a few verses there, and then Romans 11 where it talks about Israel being like an olive tree and Gentiles being grafted in, and natural Israel being broken off because of unbelief. So that's what I wanted to share today. I hope this blesses somebody. God bless you. I hope everybody has a great day.